Larry and I are going to spend a couple of weeks talking about being helpful and talking about helping, the concept of helping and the energy behind the help we give ourselves and others. And it's a really interesting part of the flow of spring when you think about all the energy that's moving to create, moving to show and bring new life. And I think that in nature, we now know that there are so many ways that things that are growing near each other provide help to each other unconditionally without one plant looking at the other and saying, hey, can I get some of your nitrogen? Oh yeah, no, I got some extra nitrogen. I'll pass it over to you. So that's not how humans work a lot more like that. Hey, you have something I need, or I don't know where to get what I need. How can I find it? And then we start to spin around the idea of offering help and helping people and helping our children, our friends, our coworkers, people in our community. So, but Larry, we also were talking a little bit about the opportunities of that, and then the double-edged sword of maybe some of the pitfalls and some of the ways that we get stuck in this helping, fixing, and doing mode. So those are a lot of thoughts, but I mean, what do you say?
We've been playing around with these a little bit, and I think, I think there's a renewed fascination with the interconnectedness in nature that looks like support, and that happens. It's built in, like all the participants need each other. So that's really interesting, and like you said, I think this sort of general way that people go about wanting to help each other. Well, I shouldn't say general, because there's so many different ways we want to help each other. I think when you and I were talking, I was speaking more from the habitual framework I use as somebody who's been professionally helping people for decades. And then like why, kind of how that's baked into me. Like there's a desire to reach out and help people. And that's okay. That's even good. People might say that's kindness or generosity or something. But sometimes it's just, it's unneeded. Or at least we don't know. We don't exactly know if it's needed or not. And then how would we know? Like when's the right moment to step in? And, I think that's what you and I started to talk about. And I got tripped up a little bit because I realized like there's a part of this I haven't really thought about for a while, because it's so natural for me to look for ways to, if I have something I can offer, I want to do it. I mean, I've learned that, I can't just assume everybody wants something. They're not ready. They're not interested. So I'm not pushing people into, doing something with me. So I've learned that, but there's still an impulse to try to help. And the upside, I think we see, like it's great when you can help people, like you can teach or you can support or you can do whatever. But then, I think what I've learned over the years, and also what our practice is teaching us, like you have to start with yourself first. Like, what are you actually going to give them? What do you think you can give people if you don't have it? Or maybe you don't have it, or maybe you need to really build up your own capacity. I don't know. These are the kinds of things we were playing with, right?
Yes, right. When you're talking, I'm thinking about all this activity in terms of like some of the yin yang principles that we talk about in terms of balance. Also, when I hear you describing helping, it's a very yang, outgoing, pushing out, offering, doing, fixing, whether it's ideas or whether it's stuff or whatever. Yeah. And it's interesting to also think about like, what's the invisible side of helping? What's the part where I stop acting and maybe sit back and I just show up, or I just am here. And in that way, I can just trust that something helpful is going to come out of that for the person that I'm with. And I think that's, I mean, maybe that's a little esoteric, but
I don't think so. I think that's interesting and important. Like I think like in the development of being a therapist.
Mm.
I think early on, you're kind of immersed in like all these options that you're supposed to be familiar with about how ways you're supposed to be able to help people. Like if they have a certain kind of problem, then there's these things and these things and these things you need to do. And I think over time, I learned like, no, it's actually better to do much less.
Mm.
So there's that, but the framework itself is about like, I'm out doing it. Like
Right.
it's once you agree to meet with somebody, then inside that space, there's something that's going to happen and there's room to like do less,
Right. Right.
that's necessary,
Right. And
to
then
do less. And
we think about that in terms of that professional therapeutic relationship that you're
Yeah.
describing, but then of course I immediately jump to parents and children.
Yeah.
And parents, well, what more do I need to say? A lot of you watching are parents and children, and there's that dance, especially as our children become adults. How do we allow them the space to have needs that go unsolved for long periods of time when we feel like maybe we have an answer that could help them, or we can offer a resource that could help them, but maybe what they really need is to have unsolved and challenging problems that they discover their own way to help themselves. It's like
right. That's right. Like, because we think we're so smart. We've gone through some challenges ourselves, so we've figured certain things out. So we
Yeah.
have that to offer. And if we're lucky, and our kids or your kids, people listening, their kids, have some respect for you, then they might actually want to know something about how you do things. But then again, that can be tricky because it's like, it's not really my life anymore. I mean, when the kids are young, you have to arrange to feed and house them and make sure they have clothes. And you have to do a bunch of things that are part of raising children. But I think even then, we know that our kids are their unique beings. Like they're not copies of us. So, we watch and see how they do things their own way. I think that's like a good kind of parenting where you watch and sort of take some guidance just from how they do things.
Right.
Like kids are upset, and then you discover how they calm themselves,
Right.
or don't calm themselves, and then you work around that.
Right.
So that's like a parenting decision, but it's in therapy, it's the same. Like people come and they're upset, and you have to see how people handle it.
Yes, but I'm also thinking,
challenge.
yeah. Sorry, I got excited again because I'm also thinking about, the energetic relationship between parents and children is a little bit different.
Sure.
Because we see ourselves in our children, whether
Yeah.
they come from our biology or come to us through some other way. Our children are pictures of us. And when we step back and allow them to solve problems, we actually give them a chance to become our teachers and to show us what we needed to see about ourselves that we couldn't see, when we went through challenges. They will have other ways. They have their own creativity. They have their own, wood is the mother of fire, but fire is, has wood in it, but it's certainly not wood. It's certainly got a different way of solving its own issues. So, and moving to its own sense of balance. Well,
yeah, the whole world they're in is completely unique to them. And you're right, like we can learn from them. I think that's the best thing is we learn from each other. We discover something that we want that's good for us through our children. And at the same time, they have their own, they have to develop their own capacities. So this is generally true. Like, so this kind of suggests like there's certain kind of, let's call them boundaries of, how far you can go or, what you should do or shouldn't do. And that's true. And there's also ways you help people, and so there's still a question about like, what does like active involvement look like? You're actively involved in helping somebody, or maybe it's not so active.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe really help them by walking away.
Right. Right.
and doing something else that's not, hopefully there's no like energy of resentment or anger or, I'm trying to, get back at you.
Mhm.
It's not that. If it's clean, I'm really taking care of myself and I'm walking away, that could be a good way to help somebody.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this is your moment. Take it.
Right.
I don't
Right.
need to be the center of your moment.
Right. Wow. It also reminds me of something that we were talking about yesterday, which is if my relationship with you isn't about my relationship with you has to change as you change and as I change, and that relationship, that space between us is going to change energetically. It has to. The frequencies are changing and we're
Mhm.
changing. So how do I know which parts are about me and which parts are about you? And you said something yesterday like you start by looking at what you want. You
Yeah.
start by looking at what you want, not what you think the other person, not blah blah blah. Got to move out of your head. I think you want me to do this, say this, or you need me, I need you. Instead, it's just like, wow, well, what am I doing right now? And very often the best answer is just going to be quiet. Be
Yeah.
quiet for a minute. If you don't know the clear answer of what you want, maybe be quiet and see what comes up. But I
Yeah,
think
I believe, it's interesting. I believe I'm to this other person. I believe I'm in relationship with you. I trust I'm in relationship with you.
right,
So you might not know what that is offering me right now. I know that I'm in relationship with you. So I have just too much noise, emotional, mental, whatever noise. It's noise. And I
right,
need to kind of get better at at quieting myself enough
right.
to determine what's happening inside of me
Yeah.
so that I can find out how to be in relationship with you right now.
I love
Because
that.
I am in relationship. I am, I assert that I'm in relationship. I know that. So then it's like, does that call on me to do anything? Maybe not, other than maybe just some kind of appreciation, or if I'm in relationship with you, something is happening already.
Exactly.
So maybe I don't
That's
need to add to that. Maybe there's
exactly.
nothing to add to that.
That's the yana that I think that's the yin to the yang of action. I love that idea of the yin of faith, that just being in relationship with you is the action that is enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would be radical, right? I mean, that would mean we can, but also means we have to do something ourselves. We're engaged in with ourselves, because I'm in relationship with myself too.
Mhm.
Like I have to attend to the fullness of my relationship with myself.
Mhm.
And I think we see this in our practice, that as that grows, this is the hidden side of relationship building, right? As that grows, then we offer something from that's invisible. And you start to trust that. And it's like, okay, because I'm in relationship with the other person, and I'm in relationship with me first, on that level, something's going to happen, because that's like the universal place where we all meet.
Yeah,
Like
on that
something
level,
happens there,
the absolute right thing will happen.
somehow, if we can be attuned enough to that. Yeah.
All right, well, part two to follow.
Part two, maybe. Let's do a part two.
All right, and everybody have a great day and a great week, and we'll see you next week to
Okay.
talk more about
Yeah.
the puzzle of helping,
Puzzle.
doing, not doing, doing, not doing. All right.
That was doing, though.
All right. Bye.
Bye.